What's up, guys? This is Coach TJ and Coach Jon coming from the AMP consultation room today. We've kind of made this our podcast studio for the day, and we're very excited to bring you guys some behind-the-scenes information on our clients, on maybe inspire some of you to do your best in your training, your nutrition, bring you a little bit of mindset. Positive mindset around all of those things as well. And today we're going to specifically speak about some of the clients that we've had over the years that actually they wind up training with their entire family, which is a really cool thing. Here at AMP, when we started the company, it was really mainly based around training athletes, serious athletes looking to play at the next level, whether that be high school, college, or even in the pros. And it's evolved into a company that really is training for the entire family. And we treat everyone, with the same professionalism that we would somebody that's in the NFL, NBA, or Major League Baseball. When it comes to just being a parent, being the best version of yourself, the most athletic version of yourself is going to help you be a better mom, dad, brother and sister. So we found that, one of our themes that we've really been working toward lately is finding that the families that train together win together. And, Coach Jon has been, he's been our director of our athletes, and he's moved into more of almost like a general manager role where he's able to sit with clients and families together, especially on day one, in that day one consultation that we explain the process and help parents connect the goals of not only themselves but of their son and daughter, and then sometimes they start to realize that actually it might make sense for them to train here as well, and vice versa. Sometimes we have our adult clients that have kids that eventually they find that this is the right place for them to be training as well. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what the day to day of our clients looks like, and kind of tell their story and tell the story of the families that train together are the ones that we find wind up getting the best results, because one of the biggest things that we found with training is the more consistently you do it, the better results you get. And if you have that accountability partner and you live with that accountability partner, it becomes a little bit easier for you to find ways to, not make that excuse to not show up or to, quit or kind of get distracted by life in general. So, I wanted to, really talk about, the benefits of sharing that experience with an entire family. We have some families that are 3 generations that we've been working with, which is pretty incredible and really, really special, and what makes us different here at AMP. So, Jon, kind of wanted to talk to you about some of the things that you've seen, in your time here with us at AMP, being a strength and conditioning coach and a personal trainer. What are some of the things that when you sit down with these families that they start to realize that maybe there's some commonality in the motivation to be coming to a place like this, and obviously there's some differences as well. So can you kind of dive a little bit into the mindset of an athlete as well as a parent, maybe battling, finding ways to make this something more of a consistent habit?
Yeah, man. Thanks, TJ, for bringing me on with you today. I'm really excited to get into our first episode here together. So really, what we're looking for from an athlete's perspective is so many of these kids are coming in without that prior experience of ever stepping foot in a gym. Maybe they've been in a public gym before and find themselves not really knowing what to do, especially for their athletic performance. So they generally have a specific goal in mind of playing at that next level, making their high school team, or even just becoming in better shape. Especially in today's world, everyone's sitting behind a computer all day, sitting on their phones, and this is a way just to get them moving and feeling more coordinated and just overall start developing healthy habits at a young age. For their parents, it's a lot different. At that point in your life, now we're looking to give back to our kids, where we want to be able to run around with them. We want to be able to play with our grandkids. We want to keep moving and be able to keep up. For a lot of our adults that have trained with us, they were former athletes or they have never stepped foot in a gym themselves. So we have a really large spectrum of the clientele that we have in here, and all of our members have so many different stories that we see. So it's really individual based on each family that I get the privilege to meet with and sit down with and go over their goals in more detail. And when we bring that to the light of really going over the why that they're coming in here today versus just going through an assessment and not taking the time to really get to know them, that's why typically our consultations take around an hour. This way we can really dive into that why. Well, okay, I want to lose 15 pounds of body fat. Well, what is that going to do for you? Why do you want to lose that 15 pounds of body fat in your home life, in your personal life? What are you going to be able to do better because you lost that 15 pounds? And being able to have people really look that in the face and understand their actual meaning and purpose of wanting to start something like strength training, working out, getting them to have that deeper meaning helps with what you were saying about the consistency. And when you can do it alongside your kid and make it a family experience, it's always great to be able to share that and have the entire family develop those healthy habits together. It's just another hour of the day that you actually get to spend with your family. For the most part, kids are in school for 7-8 hours a day. Then they go to their sport for another 2 hours. And we don't really get to see and spend time with our families too much. So if we can add an hour of the day that we all know we're going to AMP and we're going to work out together, I've seen that really help families bond and give them something to talk about other than the typical, how was school? Oh, it was good. And that's the end of the conversation for the night. This is when we have kids running over from our athlete training session to the adult training session, like, Mom, I just squatted a 30-pound dumbbell. And that's such an awesome thing to see. Or the mom grabbing the daughter, hey, I just did a pull-up. Can you do a pull-up? And then it becomes a friendly competition. And it's such an awesome experience to get to provide that for people where they're all working hard towards their own goals.
Yeah, I think about, families like the Oliveris, Frank and Francis. Francis is a baseball player in college. Frank is one of the strongest guys in the gym. And I think them having that competition of who's deadlifting more than the other is pretty cool. Something that I didn't always think was going to be something that we were able to do. But sometimes it's the former athlete parent that, they were kind of like myself, like a washed up, athlete, and they want to show their kid like, hey, I'm still strong. I can still do this. And then they start to realize, I think, the reason why they started isn't always the reason why they stay. Especially we find, the parents are like, I need to get my son faster. I need to get my daughter faster, and that's obviously important because it's part of the process. We want you to become a better athlete. But that's not always the reason why, once they get that, maybe they achieve that goal, but there's a greater reason why they start to realize like how important training is, how important that discipline is, not only physically, obviously, health-wise and physically, but also mentally, overcoming things that are more difficult, setting goals and achieving them. That's life. Right. And I've always said, sports taught me a lot about life. They taught me how to be a teammate. They taught me how to work hard. They taught me how to set goals and how to achieve them. And they taught me about setbacks, injuries, things that you kind of have to overcome. And, for us to be a place that people can kind of come here and we start to unlock that pathway of thinking. And I think a lot of younger athletes and even, adults in the same, they've never sat down and actually thought about a goal. Like, what is it that I'm trying to achieve here? And when you ask those kind of questions, those kind of peeling back the onion, as they say, you start to actually get to the real reason why they need to lose that 15 pounds. It might be confidence. It might be energy. It might be they're getting a little older and they're starting to feel their health slip away. Even their mind. At times, if you're not physically challenging yourself, you start to feel less sharp, whether it's at work or in school or, in your day to day. When you're having a conversation, you can't remember a word, like I'm getting to that point as well. But I think it's like you said, it's people first. And I think that when we're able to achieve that in our conversations, it allows for the trust in that they're in the right place. I would say, let's probably maybe bring up some stories. I know that I brought up the Oliveris. They're one that just comes to mind when it comes to the inner competition. I mentioned before we have a family that's 3 generations. Why don't you talk a little bit about them and kind of Bob and Carol that were the first to come and train with us after their son Nick had been in our gym with a team. He had done some team training with lacrosse. Bob and Carol have been training with us now for maybe going on 6 years, maybe even longer possibly. And Carol's mom Diana is one of our clients. She does one-on-one training twice a week. She's here early every session, and she gets the most out of it. She's in her 80s, and it's just such an inspiration to see her. Where we have our coaches doing some relay races with her during sessions and stuff. Can you speak a little bit more to like the people like that, the fabric of our community and our culture here at AMP?
Yeah, no, they've been with us for about 6 years now.
Yeah.
And Diana has truly been an inspiration to every one of our clients in here. Being in her mid-80s, doing push-ups, running sprints up and down the turf. She is an awesome energy in the gym, always showing up 15 minutes early. She really is what defines what it means to be an AMP member.
Yep.
She's 15 minutes early, never misses a session, puts in as much effort as she possibly can, and always is in good spirits. And she really brings all of us up to another level in here, including our athletes love watching her do push-ups while she's in the gym, and they'll come over and try to do push-ups with her and try to run with her, and they absolutely love seeing her pushing herself. And then it trickles down to mom and dad, Bob and Carol. They have consistently been in our 7 o'clock p.m. session after a long day of work. Bob's in the city all day, still finds his way over here. And the real reason, he said to me the other day, the real reason he comes here is because of the community that we have here.
Yep. Yeah, you come for the results, the fitness results, but I think you stay for the community. I think that's something that, and Bob and Carol and, the whole family has, they come to every event that we do, every time we have something either at the gym or outside. And that's something that is always close to my heart because it's, they become family. They really, truly do become family over time. And I think, we talk about the AMP family, we have it up on the wall, but like those are the people that truly, there's home, there's work, and there's AMP. It's usually that third place that you find community. Obviously you have your family that you live with, but this is the family that, that you get to work out with and share the achievements, share, things like winning a challenge, a fat loss challenge, things like, making a team, those are the things, those are the shared kind of achievements that are so cool to see the friendships that are built inside the gym and outside the gym as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of winning challenges, Bob has won 2 or 3 of our fat loss challenges. So I think that's played a huge role in him really having that motivation every day that he steps in here to keep moving. And this is despite he was an iron worker for years, having so many aches and pains. That's really when he first started coming to us. He wanted to get out of pain. And like TJ said, you come for the results, you stay for the community. So now at this point, he's out of pain. He's moving much, much better now. But he's still coming in here because he enjoys being here. He truthfully enjoys being around the people here, as well as so many of our other new families that we have. One of my other favorite families that we have here are the O'Connors, with Jericho Cares that did a couple of events with them. They have been awesome. Sammy started with us first. She's the daughter. She's turning 13. She's a really cool one because she does Ninja Warrior races, Spartan races, 5Ks. She just wants to do anything that she can challenge herself, and it is so much fun to work with her. And she inspired her mom, actually came in to do one of our challenges as well, and she inspired her mom to start working out. She really convinced her. Fran was not on board to do the challenge, and Sammy was like, "Mom, I really want you to do this with me. Just try it out. If you don't like it, whatever." And she convinced her to do it, and now they've been here for quite some time now. It's got to be over 1.5 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. And another special family we've been able to work with their charity that brings so much to the local community. And again, that's just another really special thing, and the appreciation that they have for what what we're able to provide. And again, you don't always, parents always tell me and John, like I've been telling them about, eating protein. I've been telling them about eating more healthy. I've been telling them about working out. And, saying and doing are two different things. If you say, hey, I've been telling him this, but I'm going to show him. And then you as the parent actually dedicate yourself to, training and nutrition and, lead by example versus just always lecturing because, I believe they call it the rule of vicinity. When you're close to somebody, their words don't always make an impact on you. I always reference that Joe Montana, who's obviously maybe before your time, but one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I'll say one of. His son had a quarterback coach. So, that just goes to show like he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest, and his son still had a quarterback coach. I was able to train CC Sabathia for his entire career. And when he was with the Yankees, and his son still had a pitching coach because, sometimes, the kids will kind of butt heads with the parents. And sometimes you just need an outside person to kind of provide that, that same message, just said a little differently and coming from a different voice. And sometimes that's all it really takes for that person for the kid to commit, But yeah, I would say, another big thing about, what we provide here is the mindset, right? I think the mindset piece and the physical training piece, they really kind of go hand in hand because it is such a discipline. And we talk about our 5 C's, the AMP culture that's centered around being committed, coachable, and consistent. And those things build community and a culture, right? So those are kind of some of the lessons. Obviously, I wear the top 3, especially the ones that we talk about. We've added the community and culture over time because we found that that's kind of what we started to create from these 3 words. And being committed is really important. And I think that we help them understand why they're committing to something, right? Like maybe they don't always understand how to connect their goal of being, a better baseball player to the consistency and the discipline of training or, just the act of bettering yourself physically. So that having a goal is really, really important. And then I think part of our jobs as coaches is to walk them through that process of how to think about training, how to think about, constant development, right? It doesn't stop. Even when you stop going to school, you don't stop learning. That's our coaching staff. That's something that we hold true. And then obviously being open-minded to looking at things a different way. And we are the set of outside eyes for our clients, right? So if you're trying to achieve something and you keep getting frustrated, you're not getting over over that hump. Maybe it's not making the team. Maybe it's, recovering from an injury. You have to allow people to help you first. You have to come to the table with a coachable approach, being coachable. And then, the third C is that consistency part. So, consistency with, we've sat across the table with thousands now, you're myself and you combined many thousands of parents and athletes. And we hear the same thing or a lot of the same things out of them, whether it's, I want to go play a Division I sport. I want to achieve X. I want to lose 15 pounds. I need to do this. I want to do that. But then are their actions consistent with their words? And a lot of the times they're not. And that's, again, it's our job to kind of like remind them. It's like, hey, by the way, you said this. Now we have to connect your actions to those words. So can you talk a little bit about, kind of the journey of a client and maybe just how we help them stay disciplined and stay on top of that, positive mindset of, again, consistency is a big one because if you're not showing up, we can't help you. So what are some of the things, some of the struggles that you maybe have seen some people have early on and we're able to kind of unlock as we go?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important to set that stage on day one and bring up our core values when we're meeting with someone about being committed, coachable, and consistent. Because at the end of the day, we're here to guide the process. I cannot do the work for you. I am here to give you the best possible plan for you to get the outcome that you're looking for. So it's really about getting through to each and every individual. And there's so much that goes into that because people respond to different things. So being a coach, it's super important to really know your audience and know who you're speaking with and see what they respond to. Because if we can't get into the minds of our clients, I say all the time, we train sports performance, physical fitness on the surface, but it's so much deeper than that. We really have to be able to help you train your mind to have that discipline, to be committed, to be coachable, to be consistent. And what does that actually look like? That means if you're supposed to be here 3 days a week, you're going to show up to all 3 days a week. And when you're here, you're present. It's not just checking a box that you walk through the door. That isn't enough for you to really take it to that next level and make your Division I team. You have to be putting in the effort into every set, every rep, every sprint that you're doing in order for you to take it to that next level. And also, the biggest thing that we pride ourselves on here, especially for our younger athletes, is developing the habits outside of these four walls just as strong as we're going to develop what you're going to do in these four walls. And what I mean by that is we're going to help you out with learning about nutrition. What is protein? What are carbohydrates? What are fats? We're going to help you develop your mind to not only achieve great things in your sport, but also in your academics. Also, having that responsibility and know-how to wake up and make your bed in the morning. Mm-hmm. That's probably one of my favorite stories from a client is a mom came in like a month after the kid was training and was like, "What did you do to my son?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "He woke up and made his bed for the last week." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you in a month he's going to be a completely different person," because we view ourselves more as mentors for these kids. Yep. And I always said growing up, I didn't have that mentor. When I started training, I was self-taught. I started working out at 13 years old. And I always wished I had a mentor by my side. So all of our coaches here do an amazing job at bringing kids up both physically and mentally to take them to that next level. When they're sitting down across from a college coach one year, they need to be able to hold themselves with that pride and that confidence that they know that they've put in every ounce of effort inside the gym, outside the gym, checking every single box that they need to, and just feeling confident in what they're doing on a daily basis. And then more so on the adult side, so many people have fallen off when they try to train on their own. Why is it so hard for people to train on their own? It's not because they're doing anything. They might not be doing different exercises than we're doing here. I will put our program up against anyone else in the world. But what's really special is developing those connections with the people to get them to stay consistent, to be coachable, and to be committed to the process. Because I could give you the same plan and you could try to go do it at a big box gym and not get any results. But the underlying factor is you didn't have someone to hold you accountable.
Yep.
So you might miss a session here or there. If you miss a session here, we're calling you right away. And that's going to keep you in that mindset of, oh, it's Monday morning at 6 a.m. I got to wake up. I have to go to AMP. My family is missing me, not just my coach. Yeah. So really being integrated into people's lives is really the biggest factor to helping them see the 5 C's that we live by. And we hold ourselves to those standards and lead by example with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you see that, it's obviously we're talking about, parents and their athletes training together. There's obviously husbands and wives. There's brothers and sisters. There are friends, some best friends that train together, bridesmaids and brides that train together to get ready for a wedding. Like those are the types of things that the more you can create that culture around you, the better it is to stick to it. Because the influence of the people that are in your lives, and who's better to influence than your own immediate family. I think that's really important. And having that mentor, I think we all kind of coach the younger version of ourselves in some way. As a coach, most of us are, at some point or another, we're washed up athletes that if we had what we had here
every day,
we'd all be professional athletes, right? And that's kind of and I think even we hear that from parents. Man, if I had this back when I was my son's age or my daughter's age, and yeah, we can laugh at that, but I think there is some truth to that.
Absolutely.
I think you and I probably had a very similar path. You kind of show up to the gym and you go, all right, what are we going to do today? We're going to do biceps or we're going to do bench? Like
definitely biceps.
Those are the only 2 things I knew how to do. It was bench on Monday, biceps on Tuesday, and Wednesday was like, maybe some more bench. I don't know.
Maybe follow the biggest guy in the gym that didn't really know what he was doing.
Exactly.
That was about it.
It's like, oh, the guy that just eats protein and drinks water. Yeah,
Pretty much.
sure. That's the guy that we should follow.
Milk jugs.
But yeah, I mean, I would say, I think we went over a lot today, and I think that, our goal again, it's really to kind of, some people might be intimidated by this environment, and especially, early on when we were only athlete, we were only training, elite athletes, college, pro, and people that were looking to play at the next level. But I do think that over time, the cool part about the fitness industry in general, I feel like it's becoming more normalized to lift weights. For men and women, it's becoming more normalized for, female athletes and male athletes. It's mostly a male-dominated kind of industry when we think about it. But, even when I'm traveling and I go to a regular gym now, I feel like there's more women in the squat rack than men. So I do think that that's starting to work. And I love that about, fitness in general. And I hope that we have a little bit of a part in that, in instilling that, that confidence to walk in the gym and to really commit to something. And that's the difference between, I think, what we do here. We consider what we do as training, right? We're training toward a goal. It's not just a workout. It's not just, something that's here we're just trying to make you sweaty and sore. We're actually working towards something. And I think our team and our coaching staff, do an amazing job of, staying on top of our clients, Coach Hannah, Coach Brandon, Coach Nick, Coach Jess, yourself, in like, hey, this is where you were and this is where you are today. And, this is how much better you've gotten in this time. And you don't always want to compare to someone else. You want to compare to where you were. And I think that, part of the process is really just getting started, right? That's the number one thing. It's like committing in your mind. I've struggled with this enough myself. I think it's time to have the humility to go to someone that can help me. And I think, we welcome people with open arms. And, especially when we're already helping someone in their family. And most of the time that happens when their son or daughter are already training with us. And then it's just a conversation with drop of, hey, you mentioned in the beginning you might be thinking about joining a gym. What are some of the things, I guess, that you kind of help people with, and what are some of the things that we've had success with over, in the past with getting that parent started, getting that person kind of like to say, all right, you know what, Monday, that's when I start. What are some of the ways that we've helped people kind of get that process started, and then, 5 years later, you're still with us?
Yeah, so always on day one, whenever I'm meeting with an athlete and their family, I always bring up our adult training. And I like everything that we were talking about before. When you're doing it in the household and you're a representation of what you want your son or daughter to do, it really lays the groundwork for what they need to do. And it's also going to help you have healthier food in your home. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to follow a high protein diet when mom and dad are cooking healthy meals for dinner.
Yep.
So if they're working towards their own goal where that's going to be part of their everyday life, it really makes it a lot easier to support your son or daughter. But going back to getting the adults to try out a session, the biggest thing that we've seen success with is a lot of them are sitting here in their cars anyway. There are so many times when myself, our coaching staff, will walk out to their car, and when the kid comes in, we'll ask them, is mom or dad here? We'll walk out to the car and say, hey, you're jumping in the session. It's on us today. Let's just move around. Let's see if you like it. If you absolutely hate it, you wasted 40 minutes of your life and you never have to walk back through these doors. Mm-hmm. So for them, it's like, what do I have to lose at that point? Especially if they express some interest. And then after that, getting them to stay for 5 years, it really comes from people buy into the process when you can get them a quick win in the first 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it goes back to our goal setting. We'll always set something tangible for those first 30 days and have that sit down conversation with them. Like, did we achieve X or Y or Z? And once they have that quick win, it really becomes like, man, I love this. I'm seeing results. I'm seeing progress. We always want that to be something small that we know is achievable and get them those results and help guide that process so that they can get that quick win.
Absolutely. And I think, we have our yearly challenges. We run 3 a year. But also, at any moment, a client can get started, a parent can get started on their fitness journey, even though, the best time that we found is like when we have those deadlines. It's like, hey, the challenge starts on Monday. What are we doing? We're actually in the middle of our challenge, our Fit for Fall challenge right now. But we have 3 challenges a year, one in the fall, one right in the beginning of the year, New Year, New You. And then we have our summer shred. That's probably our most popular because everybody wants to get ready for the beach. We live on Long Island, we offer every client, every parent of an athlete gets a free month of training on us. So if that's not a low barrier offer, there's 0 barrier. You just have to show up. And again, we're looking at that as an opportunity for us to get a parent on the right path. Whether they choose to continue with us or not is obviously up to them and up to us to provide that value. But sometimes we've even had, clients lose 10 or 12 pounds in that first month or in that challenge. And then they can go off and do it on their own. And I'm not saying that that's the goal ultimately, but there is no, we're not just, handing it off to you to, to force you into anything. At the end of the day, we're actually truly giving you a free month of training with no questions asked. And I think we've been able to, again, grow our adult program through that and our community first and foremost. Like that to me is one of the most special things that I didn't even, it just kind of happens over time. We've been in business going on 13 years now. So, we've had a lot of ups and downs. We've had a lot of differences, when it comes to the types of clients that we've seen. But I think when I look at AMP today, the fact that we do service so many families, husbands and wives, multiple children, again, 3 generations, going all the way back to the beginning, I think that's the really cool thing about this place. And I think that's what people start to find out and start to realize, and even the people that, maybe trained with us years ago and then they find their way back, they think back, they're like, what was it that I was doing back then that I felt good and I was in good shape? It's like, oh yeah, you know what? I was with AMP. And for some reason or another, I fell off. And then when they come back, it's just like they never left, and we have those stories as well. But definitely, if you're somebody listening and if you're a client of ours, if you're a parent of a client, if you're a client yourself, just know that, again, the offer out there is, a free month of training. But we just want to also let you know how much we appreciate you, as someone that obviously trusts us with either your son or daughter or your own, fitness journey. But also that we welcome you with open arms and do our best to provide the best service, the best fitness and performance gym on Long Island is really our ultimate goal. And once again, we really do appreciate you listening or watching, and we hope that we get to meet you one day soon. Thank you.